Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Laura, and in this video I'm going to take you through a super quick tutorial around Shavasana, the final yoga pose. Now this is probably the most frequently avoided pose in yoga. I'll be honest, I actually avoided it for the first 5 years of my practice just because I didn't want to be still. To this day I do struggle with it a little bit for sure, but there are ways that we can enhance the pose in order to make it easier for us to be in Shavasana. So what is Shavasana? Well, Shavasana, actually the word translates as corpse pose, or I also like the word sponge. I often hear it as sponge pose, and I like that. It is the end pose where everyone lies on your back and you completely let go and you completely relax and soften. Now, it's a crucial part of your practice because we are practicing yoga to shift things, right? To move things around, if you will, and to reset our nervous system at a lower level. That's our stress response system so that we can relax. And it's in Shavasana, when we're lying on our back and totally still, that our nervous system can, it's like incorporate all of this new information. And if we just hop up and go on with the rest of our day, then the tendencies for the nervous system to go back the way it was. So Shavasana is a really crucial aspect of our practice, and we want to get the most out of it. So let's talk about, first of all, the stages of Shavasana. So there are actually 3 stages to Shavasana. The first stage is physical relaxation. And that's when the body actually lets go. And I'm sure you've experienced that at some point when you just kind of feel yourself, it's like your body almost exhales. It's like, and you can really settle in to the pose, to the floor. It's actually at that moment that Shavasana actually begins. So that's the moment at which you begin, you're beyond that physical tension. Now here's what's interesting. The average person takes between 15 and 18 minutes to physically relax. And when I first started doing yoga, and actually in my classes, we do 15 to 20 minute Shavasanas in every class, but I'm finding in most classes, these are getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And when I teach my fitness yoga classes, it's like I can get people to lie down for a minute or 2, maybe max. I want to encourage you to begin to bring a 20-minute, 15 at least, bare minimum, but preferably a 20-minute Shavasana into your practice, because it is an incredibly powerful tool. Even if you just do it, I used to do it right before bed. I did a 30-day Shavasana challenge for myself with my students, and we did it every single day for 20 minutes for 30 days. It was profound. The shift was incredible. Maybe that's something we need to do. That would be really fun. We could just do 7 days, do a weekend of it, and it would make such a difference. But anyway, so if you are doing less than that 15 to 18 minutes, you're actually not getting into that full Shavasana. You're not getting to that physical release. Once you do get to the physical release, the second stage of Shavasana is called pratyahara, which is one of the 8 limbs. And that's when our senses are drawn inward, basically where we're not distracted by our senses. So this often can happen, you realize you're not hearing outside noises. You don't hear your phone ring. You don't hear the car go by and honk. You're not being distracted, because that's what pulls us out of our relaxation, right? We get drawn by our senses. So pratyahara is stage 2. Stage 3 is true Shavasana, and it's called a shunya, and you only know you've gone there because you've come back. So what I mean by that is, have you ever had that experience in Shavasana when it is so deep that you even hear your instructor's voice, but you're not drawn to it? You're not asleep, you're not asleep, but you're just not totally present. And then when you come out, wow, that was amazing. Yeah, said of a shunya is that you can't say, oh, I'm there, I'm in shunya, because you'll be right back into your body. It's just like you were somewhere else. And the only way you know you were there is because you came back. And my students often describe it as, I wasn't sleeping. And it's almost like they're confessing, because I have to go over and wake them up, bring them back. And they often say, oh, I wasn't sleeping. I said, I know, you were in a shunya, and we were all really, really jealous, because that's a great place to be. And that's where your true relaxation occurs. Usually doesn't happen very often. If it happens to you a lot, congratulations, that's fabulous. For me, it's like once a month. I get a really, really true Shavasana. It's really powerful. Now, there are a few things you can do to help yourself relax more fully, okay? There are a few things that your body needs in order to do that physiological release, that stage one of Shavasana. The first thing is you actually need it to be darkened. So if you can turn off the lights, great. You can also use an eye bag. I love eye bags. Just keep in mind they should be very, very light. Back in the day, we had very heavy eye bags, which I know are still around a little bit. That's hard on the corneas. They're finding that depression of the corneas is not good for your eyes. So a really light one. You can put your socks across your eyes if you want. I like this because there's just a tiny bit of rice in the end, so there's enough weight to hold my eyes down, because the second thing you need is to have your eyes relaxed. And that's very hard to do. And that's when something is just light on your eyes or you have nothing on your eyes. So I do like a little bit of weight because it helps the eyes relax. The second thing you need to do, well, actually we're on 3 now, is an inclination. If you're sitting up, your body can't physiologically relax. So you need to be at least at 30 degrees, but lying down, of course, even better. That will help your body relax. The fourth thing you need is warm hands and feet. So this one is where you want to make sure you have socks on, or you can put a blanket over yourself. I actually prefer if people are totally covered with clothing, because blankets can be distracting. Now, we still use blankets in class a lot, so it's not like you can't, but realize that the fifth thing, now I've lost count, is you need to be totally symmetrical. And when you're using a blanket, it can be pushing on one foot more than the other, or tucked under one hand and not the other. And that will dramatically affect your relaxation. I teach a 3 to 4 hour Shavasana workshop. And the first thing I do is I have them get into Shavasana, and then I go around and I make everybody off balance, but super subtly, so they don't realize that's what I'm doing. I'll slide a strap over so it's just touching their hand, or a little edge of a blanket so it's touching part of their foot. And then they come out and they say, "How you doing? You know, how did it feel?" And they don't want to tell them they don't want to tell me they were miserable, but that's what they were, right? Finally, someone will say, "God, I didn't feel very good at all." Excuse me. And that's the asymmetry. Now, often we are asymmetrical without it. It's subconscious. We don't realize we are, but it will keep us from relaxing into Shavasana. So you need to be really symmetrical, and a blanket can throw that symmetry off. All right, the next thing you need is to have your head centered. I'm telling you, you're gonna feel this, you're gonna feel that. If you have a ponytail in your hair, it's gonna affect it. You need to get yourself really in the center, and you can tuck a blanket up underneath the neck just to hold your head, but keep it super centered with your forehead higher than your chin. And I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. So you need to have your head kind of tipped down, and you need the skin of the forehead moving down. Now that may sound weird. You're like, well, how, what? But if you have tension in your forehead, which most of us do, the skin is moving up, and that stimulates the brain. So as you relax the forehead, and what I will do is you relax it down, it'll help you relax. I will pull my eye bag down like that and put it on my eyes. And that's very helpful for relaxing the forehead. And the last thing, besides position of the body, which we're going to talk about, is you need a hard surface to be on. Have you ever tried to do Shavasana in bed? It's not the same. You need a hard surface. And actually, there's a physiological reason for it. It basically supports the nervous system. And I can go into that another time. But just trust me, you need that hard surface. It just will not be the same without it. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is actually take you through lying down into Shavasana and show you the position of the body for you in order for you to take that deeper physiological relaxation. The first thing I do to get ready for Shavasana is I use a Shavasan Spray, and this is using essential oils in a spray to help me relax more fully. I can use all the help I can get. Now, I actually have a few sprays, but I have 3 that I want to share with you, and I'm not going to share with you the exact recipe. I will post it below so you can grab it if you want it. I have one for sleep. So these are oils that are very calming for me. So this would also be relaxation spray. So this would be a great one to do before bed. I have a grounding spray, and this is very helpful if I'm feeling really stressed out, or if I'm feeling like really stuck in my head. This helps bring all the energy down. And finally, I have a manifesting spray. So these are high frequency oils to help me take the next step to move into the life of my dreams. And I literally just spray my whole body, or you can also spray the mat if you want, and it's fabulous. Okay, so to get into Shavasana well, you're going to start, hold behind the knees, and round yourself down. Let your feet go a little bit more than hip width. And then often people take their feet too wide or too close. If they're a little bit more than hip width, but not quite the width of your mat, your hip joint relaxes more fully. And then allow your toes to release out, which will soften the hip joint. At this point, I recommend peeking at your toes and seeing if they're even. It's okay if they aren't, because you probably have different tension in each of your hip bones, so your hip joints. So it would be normal to have them be imbalanced. But you also might notice if your right toe is up a little bit more, maybe you can relax a little bit more in that hip joint and let the toes tip out. Now the arms, you want the arms to be out about 45 degrees away from the body. If they are too close, your shoulders can't relax. If they're too far, your hands will get really cold. They're too far away from the midline of the body. So if you take your hands onto your belly button, your fingertips, and then open out to the side, that's usually a good amount of space, and then walk your shoulder blades down your back. Now take a breath and just feel the body and see how the lower back feels. Mine actually feels pretty good today, but I usually need something underneath my knees. So if that's true for you, you're going to take a blanket, and what I like to do is triple fold it, not roll it. People often put rolls underneath their knees, but you have an artery that runs behind your knees, and putting a roll underneath your knees can cause a restriction in blood flow to your toes, which would make your feet fall asleep during Shavasana. So instead, put a flatter blanket up underneath your thighs, and then get back into your position. And again, you're going to have your head be flat, back on the floor, right in the middle, right in the center. And your forehead needs to be a little bit higher than your chin, which means you might need a little bit of a lift, but watch yourself. A lot of people put a huge lift and it throws off the alignment. You don't need a pillow. Okay, you might need a little bit of a lift, or you might need something to soften the back of your head if you're on a super hard surface, if your mat isn't thick enough to pad you. And so just a little bit of a lift is great. And then you kind of tuck the chin in just a little. And then you can add your eye bag if you want, sliding it down. And there it is. Now, to come out, it's a very specific way to come out too. You bend your knees. And if you have any lower back tension, you can hug your knees up. And then you'll roll to one side, make a pillow with your bottom arm, and just rest with your forehead down. Take a few breaths. And as you feel ready, you're going to push your hand into the floor, come up, head is down, and come up to sitting. And then I always like to end in the Anjali Mudra, so hands into the heart. All right, so that's how to do Shavasana. Feel free to link below, and I will take you through a Shavasana for yourself.